Alright, this is a D5. These were built in the 1960s. 93 horsepower, non-turbo, natural aspirated. They're about a 26,000 pound machine. This one is configured with a manual angle blade. It was pretty commonly used in the pipeline industry. They're about a 12-foot wide blade. Little Caterpiller 30 here. About a 12-foot wide blade that you could pull these pins on the side. You could pull this pin right here and this arm would come out and you could move it back to the next position and that would angle the blade. And they pivoted on this center joint here. Of course, this machine's got a cab, and like I said, 93 horsepower. This is a manual transmission. A lot of them had power shifts, but this one is a manual, so I'll give you an idea. This is your clutch lever right here. When you pulled it back, that engaged the drive and would drive your wheels, or drive your tracks. This lever here is your shifter. Here's a 4-speed, that's second gear. No, this one's a shift. Okay, this is the reverser. That's reverse right there, and that's forward. And then this is your shifter here, and they're a 4-speed, first, second, third, and fourth. Your clutch levers, brake pedals, and your throttle. These did not have a cutout, a throttle cutout. This one doesn't, anyways. You could probably rig one up. Glass enclosed cab gives you your visibility here. They're terrible on visibility. You cannot see the corners of the blades. All you can see is the top of the blade on both sides. You can't see the ground. You have to lean way over to see the ground. You can't see your tracks. All you can see is just this little bit of your track right here. You can't see the front of your tracks at all. Can't see the bottom, can't see the ground in front of your tracks, nothing. They're just, the visibility on these things is awful. Gauges, control battery switch and starter switch. Your batteries are in these boxes on the sides here. On this design, Caterpillar design, the oil tank is actually right back here. It sits in here behind the engine. This is the oil tank here with your valves inside of it. Your pump is on the, I think, yeah, the oil pump is that right down there, driven off the engine. Like I said, it's a natural aspirated 3206 straight 6. They're good running little machines, though. What I was talking about, I talked about this on the 15B and also on the Terex design, about the track frames. You see how this track frame is built. Your rollers are attached to the bottom of the track frame, and the track frame actually comes all the way back, and the final drive bolts down to the track frame, and this whole track frame rotates on the final. The dead axle is in the center of the final, and that's the pivot point. And so the final drive is not a planetary drive, it's a ring and pinion drive. And what there is inside the final, there's a ring gear right in here, big huge ring gear, and a pinion gear right here that comes out of the transmission case and drives this big ring gear. And so this whole assembly hangs down underneath this tractor like this and really interferes with your ground clearance. And you can see it's actually completely exposed. This machine could have a lot wider tracks on it to cover it, but the way it is, it's completely exposed. And they actually made a guard that would go over this to cover it and keep this housing from being damaged. There's the back side of the drive sprocket. But you can tell from this design, well, let me back up a second. Here is the dead axle. This is the dead axle. It goes all the way through the tractor. From one final, it goes all the way through to the other final. It's a solid bar. This right here is what they call a wishbone. This track frame underneath here, you can see this piece here is part of the track frame, and it goes back and it attaches to the dead axle, and the whole track frame rotates on that dead axle. Uses a large leaf spring in the front for an equalizer. The problem with this design is that all of your blade, all of the shock that it comes into the blade is transferred to the track frame and into the final, to the dead axle, which is inside the final. And it's really, really hard on your finals. First of all, the ring and pinion drive design is a weak design compared to the planetary design like the Terex and the Internationals had. And then also this would cause a lot of torsion and a lot of pressure on that final, and you could get a lot of movement. There's an adjustment underneath this cover. There's an adjustment to adjust these finals, and you're constantly having to adjust them. The only way to keep them from blowing out was to keep them tight. And so you had to, every 500 hours, take this cover off and adjust them and tighten them down and make sure they're kept tight. Otherwise you'd blow the finals out of them, and several $1,000s in damage. They're just not a good design. They didn't hold up very well compared to the other type of finals where they were separated. That there is that divorce, that separation between the track frame and the final, with the dead axle move forward of the transmission and planetary drive in the final. Much better design. But this is a D5. This is not a 5B. This was the one before the 5B. It was just a straight D5. The 5B was a little newer than this one. Hopefully we'll get another video and make a video of a 5B some other time. That's it for the Caterpiller D5.